into the best month of the year. We are officially in the best month of the year, the month of March. So, as you can possibly imagine, this is definitely my birth month. So, I'm always fired up to move into the month of March because so many great things. Once you get out of March, you're kind of sneaking into the summer season, and spring is officially on. And so, just it's just a great time of the year. But with that being said, I am uniquely excited, not only for that, but just for the fact that we are reconnecting here again for our monthly mastermind call with the Dreammakers Network, and happy to have you guys on the line and connecting with the folks who are lining up and connecting with us online as well throughout the country and the world, wherever you are. If you're here with us live, thank you. And we appreciate you waking up early in whatever time zone. It could be late where you are, whatever the case may be, but we appreciate you connecting, sharing, bringing your energy, bringing your thoughts, bringing your objectives to the call this morning. And if you're connecting with us later, we're just happy to be a part of your time that you've spent with us on this call. This is still always amazing when we think about how long we've been hosting this call. Every on Saturday mornings, and we have a monthly call now. And we started back in Labor Day of 2012. So as you can see, we are essentially into heading toward 12 years in hosting this call. And it's it's unbelievable when we think about it in that respect. Sometimes when I go to our YouTube page and just see the catalog of years of calls, you can just keep going back on the number of years, the number of calls, the type of content that we've shared, the topics, the books that were read, listening to folks' stories over the years. And then we can even go further than that when we were just look at the recorded calls on the conference call line. And we're talking, roughly 12 years of data. And so I'm glad that we have that because it's definitely valuable to go back and hear what we were working on, to see what were the challenges and the goals during that particular time. But at the same time, to be able to recognize where we are right now and how things that were big objectives at the time are now part of your day-to-day life. And you've, now looking at bigger objectives to add value to and bring into your life and bring into existence. And so it is just, I think for me personally, a valuable resource. And I guess it's just the fact of being able to look back and to know that progress is being made. And a lot of times we don't think it is because we're so focused on what we're trying to accomplish now, so we think we haven't made any progress, but progress is being made, particularly for this network. When we think about the relationships that were built, the goals that we worked on together, I can't even begin to, I can't allow myself to get, to get in that place where, woe is me, if you will, or begin to worry and doubt about what's currently going on, because time, process, resources has proven that whatever we focus on and commit to, we can accomplish, and we have done that. And so I'm kind of nostalgic, if you will, and just kind of looking back. But I'm also excited particularly for folks who are new to the call and new to the network and beginning the process of saying, well, I'm there now. That's exactly why I kind of dialed in. That's why I tapped in, because I am at that point of trying to understand what's next for me. This has happened, that has happened, this roadblock, all the various things that could easily get in the way, all the various things that could easily distract us from what we're trying to accomplish. And so it is very important to, I would say, look at things from a strategic perspective of where you are now, but where you've been and how did you get to where you are, and at least being intentional enough to have associate, if you will, with people who are also looking to accomplish goals and are willing to do it. It's not just something that's sitting in the back of their mind, but it is something that they're willing to actually do something about. And that, I would say, has been truly the added value, the blessing of this network over the past uh, 11 and a half years, um, that a network has been created. We can, even in our worst moments, we can still connect with someone within the network who knows what we're going through, who's been there, who can, give us, invest in our lives. Um, and more importantly, to when you're at your lowest point, or if you're at a down time in your life, that you can be reminded of how you got here and why, and that you're just in the middle of the process toward accomplishing and achieving the goal that you're currently working on. So I'm just thankful to each of you that you allow us to create this mastermind, if you will, of connecting with each other for the purpose of personal development, and giving us an opportunity to uh, really, reach into your own space, reach into your mind, into your heart, into your wants and dreams right now, and help it add value to the communication and the objective that we have here for this call today. So thank you so much for your years of support. And for those of you who are on the call for the first time, we welcome you to the Mastermind Call, and we look forward to hearing from you on today's call. Well, I tell you, it is as we look into today and in this new month of March, and look back and at February and the things that really, what we spent our time on, and how we've spent time working on various things in the month of February. This is all week this week, actually, and possibly even before that. I've had various uh, tested out various ideas on social media, um, just to really see what people's thoughts are around goal setting and their experiences. And it's really been on my spirit a lot, to be honest with you, because it's just in random conversations, talking to folks about what's going on in their life and where they are and how they feel about where they are and what's going on. And I sent out a post earlier this week, and asking the question, over the past, or more so within your adult years, can you identify something that you wanted, that you that you pursued, that you achieved, and you still have today? So something that you wanted, you actually pursued it, you achieved it, and you still have it to this day. And I actually laid it out, asked the question to identify three things, you know, and it was really interesting because for some people, they were quick, boom, 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 boom. Yes, here's the three things. Um, but I've asked that question on social media. I've talked to folks directly, and there were a lot of folks who were struggling to come up with one thing, who really were like, let me come back to you on that. So, and I think about it from the standpoint, maybe the question would be a lot easier if I didn't say uh, that you still have it today. There's some folks who have pursued things, got it, but they may not have it anymore. So that is understandable. But what there were a few situations though that really hit me, if you will. Um, that really made me think about this whole topic of goal setting. And if it is, when we think about just even early, in our foundation years from 0 to 20, and we're in the structure of school, and always the objective of goal setting. It's like, yeah, you have your assignments in class, you have to do your assignments. But outside of that, is there an active topic of you should set goals, and here's a process to accomplish those goals? And if it is, who's the one sharing that message to young people, if you will? Because my thoughts around this is that if you if goal setting wasn't a uh, something that was normal during your first 20 years of your life, it's going to be that much more difficult during your adult years to even see or even try to understand why that is something that should become a priority, even something worth your time pursuing. you know and so it was just kind of an eye-opening situation, uh, when folks were really like, I don't know. But I want to pose that question to you guys this morning, and anybody who's willing, let me say it that way, to share uh, things that you have wanted, you pursued it, uh, and you still have it to this day. And even if you don't still have it, I'm interested to hear some of your stories, if you will. If anybody who's willing to be honest about that. Again, and I want to highlight the fact that you wanted it, because there are things that kind of fall in our laps, and it's like, oh, I got this now, and I'm glad, thankful, bless God that I got it, kind of thing. But I'm talking about, how it is with those things that you say, I really want this. I really want this, and I'm going to do what it takes to pursue it, and I want to accomplish this in my life. Um, so let's take a second. I want to open up the call now to anybody who's willing to share and kind of share what that thing is for you. If that's something that you wanted, you pursued it, you achieved it, and you still have it in your life today. We'll open up the call now to anyone who's willing to share and give us some details as to what that is. We'll open up the call now. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, okay, okay, brother team. How you feeling, man? Um, so the question is, can you identify something that you wanted within your adult years? Something that you wanted, you pursued it, you achieved it, and you still have today. And even if and I would say, I'm gonna, open it up a little bit to say, if you don't have it, it's still interesting to hear the things that you have pursued at some point in your life. Um, that was the question. So you might want to mute your line, team, because we can hear the phone ringing back. All right. All right, Sean, I think that was you jumping. Yes, sir. Mm.
you know, and
Hmm.
he was great, strong,
Hmm.
you know, look at that and we to people about that relationship, you know, the fact that she and I never dated, you know, we went to a gay in church and told her, you know, that we kind of became, you know, just acquaintances. I said, you know, you would be more grateful one day. And she said to me, funny, you never asked me to be your girlfriend. Or, you know, 20 years. I said, that's the only thing, you know, that I can, my finger.
Wow. Now, and I will say to you also, if when you think about education, if it's something that you because K-12, I kind of understand. You're almost forced to do it, right? So it's like you're doing it for your mama or something like that, But once you get kind of out of that space, and you go to college. I mean, maybe you're still doing it for your mom, but at some point you're pursuing when you declare a major, you're like, all right, this is what I want to do. Hopefully, that's what you know you're doing that, uh, and so you're in kind of the wanting aspect, and to graduate from college in of itself is a it's a big achievement because I don't know about everybody else, but college was not easy for me. So I was happily staring at my degree right now, like, thank you, Jesus, because that's all. There were no, you know, magna cum laudes or summa cum laudes associated with my degree. It was thank you, Lottie. So that is the real deal. So that was one of the first things I thought about when I was kind of going through that process. But I'm glad you shared that. Because I also came to that same conclusion too in terms of marriage. You know, uh, again, we go, but I think the interesting part of this question is something that we wanted, and the thing interesting part about marriage is that somebody pursued somebody, so it could be the case that one spouse may not list their marriage as what as something they pursued, but the other will, because one spouse pursued the other. And the other just wow, I guess I'm in a relationship now, right? and you know, and yeah, so I guess that's what we're doing now. Okay, all right, okay, I'm with it. So that's a real thing. Um, so but yeah, so let's. I'm interested to hear anyone else who has a thought. I appreciate you, Sean, and it's good to hear your voice, brother. Appreciate you sharing, and sharing that too, and being honest about it, because for folks, it's not as easy of a thought process. So let's take a second. We'll open the call now. Anybody else who's willing to be bold and honest and share their wants, and if they've been through that process, we'll open up the call now. Okay. Okay. Go for it. Yeah. Well, the purpose. Yeah, that is the purpose. The purpose is. Yeah, well, I mean, at the end of the day, just on a simplistic perspective, the purpose is to acknowledge the fact that you have pursued something and you achieved it, and I tell you, so go for it. So that's really the objective. Hmm. Mm.
still feel
Mm.
Okay, many of what I've been startled by, and this group is somewhere that I look for answers from is excuse my language, why the fuck am I not satisfied? Like, why don't I feel that level of achievement and success? Why don't I feel like, hey, I'm on top of the mountain, I'm good here? It's like I'm still looking for it, and you know, we're pursuing the goal thing. CIAA thing, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be it again. You want to be satisfied. I'm going to be full. My belly will be full, and I'll be happy. So in understanding the question, before I ask you the question, which is, what does that really mean? Right? And there's a big spectrum. Hey, said to me, team, you just like a running back. You just keep on. He said, you're not taking into consideration every 10 yards is a first down. You're not taking into consideration every 100 yards is a touchdown. He said, you just running through the end zone.
Yeah.
Where do you read from? So as I look at my life selfishly, now it's like the question, okay, can you prove yourself in so many ways? Ability, talent, intelligence, potential greatness, genius, people even say. But what does all that really mean when I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror? Shared something that fit into his answer to the question. So now I find myself literally looking at my life and saying, well, I haven't done that yet. Maybe I should try that. I mean, you know how many business ideas come on, B, this is me. How many business ideas have I thrown at
Yes, sir.
That everybody probably said, if you do that, you'll be successful. Bro, I do the stuff and it's still like, that's not it. Yeah. So in answering the question, I've done it many a times, and then I flip it around and pose it back to you. Like, bro, so having accomplished those things and having them on your resume or having them in your background, why don't I feel satisfied? Why don't I feel like I'm there, like to put my feet up and rest? Because I have more to do.
Well, I'm glad you said that from the question around what's the purpose of the question, and it's realistically, you know, that's kind of the purpose of today's call, is to, number one, have folks remember that there was a time that I wanted this thing. I wanted it. I, you know, had sleepless nights trying to get it. I thought about it strategically, all these things. I worked hard and I achieved it. And then it's like, then what? To your point. And when we look at this, you know, from a purpose perspective, you know, one of my favorite books, I know I've shared it with you guys on this call several times, which is The Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And I would say, and it's a 30-day book, and it's like you read a chapter a day, and it's a very valuable process to go through and reading The Purpose Driven Life for 30 days, you know, a chapter a day, if you will. But the summation, if you will, that I took away from that book is that the objective of life, period, you know, and it resonates definitely if you identify as a Christian, but even if you don't, and you just believe that there's a higher power, that the objective of life is to have that higher power revealed through you. You know, so when you look at the things that you pursued and you achieved it, then the objective then is to use that thing you've now achieved to show the glorious aspect of that higher power. So to have God revealed through you throughout your life in various ways, you know. And so when you think about, you know, we talked about if you're anyone who's gotten married, you know, so you say, okay, well, I want to be to be a living example of God's love in this marriage. And to have it show itself every day. If you've gotten a degree and that degree was in whatever. Yeah.
I think to me, even know what success is. I mean, the championship is the winning the moment people know success. But what does internal success look like and feel like from the inside team?
Well, that's a good question.
Does it mean that, hey, today,
Well, let me.
it was the success. Now, it doesn't matter what you have and people can see. If you have something inside of you that's calming you and making you feel good and okay, are you successful? Or are you just acting and looking successful?
Yeah, and what does acting and looking do for you? And I would let me ask you this question, and you can go back over your life, and this is even from the beginning. Is there a time in your life that you can dust off in your brain that where you were just, at your best? You did something and it made you feel a certain way. You were doing something and you felt like you were in, it was just came so naturally to you. It wasn't hard to do. Can you remember any experiences like that? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Get a call from the electrical, go in and them wires, and only activated the electrical part, right? By myself in 3 days. You like, damn, you still got it like that, but in the mind, I don't see what I'm doing as anything intensive. This is just me put some energy. So when I look at that stuff, deep, what bring to the table, be like, am I? Because this is something I'm talking to my psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for being an amazing, for being super talented and being able to do things because the reason I question it is because that becomes my motivation for the next step. Because what I did last year, you know, you can think about, well, you want some step side shit, and you get threes from you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All the jobs, all the
Yeah.
BCE, BC natural, into a really different places. And had to go through the custody of his own place.
No.
That he wrong with me. They asked me, would you be in a psychiatrist to get evaluated? I said, actually, I would love to. Like, I want the evaluation. And the psychiatrist says, you're a very unique person. I've never met anybody like you. But I posed the same question to her, I posed back to you, and what the fuck does all that really mean? You know what I mean? With, excuse my language again, but it's in the realness of where we are. To be to identify purpose. Sometimes I need answers from outside of me. Right? I think that goes back to the family and, not having certain confirmations growing up from men who, like his, or in your family that says that you're doing the right thing because if I'm playing basketball, you make a shot and everybody cheers, you understand. All right, and I break or lag a deal. Right? because sometimes, you know, I'm a middleman. I'm not always increasing performing anything. I just know you have a need. I know I can get the product, service, or good done. I know I can put 25% on top of what they're going to charge me and still be less than what you're going to pay. And I might make $13,000 like I did at the port. But bro, do you know that $13,000 doesn't make me feel good in the way that people think? What is that, B? I'm coming back to you with the question of I have achieved many things like this. A lot of shit is easy. I can write with both hands, play ping pong with both hands. I can turn up the wires. What difference does it really make?
Yeah.
Yes, Paz knows. Paz knows what I'm talking about because this was us as kids.
Well, I'll tell you like this. Yeah, I'll tell you like this, and just listening to you kind of outline, you're sharing things that we know and a lot that we don't know. But I'll tell you this: you should be in love with yourself. After what you just read, well, I can't answer that question, but I do want to highlight the fact that loving the fact that you have are willing and able to pursue things that you want, and regardless of why you want it, you know, you don't have to go down that road. Just the fact that you have the ability, the mindset, and the willingness to pursue something that you want and achieve it. Just one thing. You didn't have to mention two things, just one. That in and of itself is enough to say, God, I thank you for giving me that kind of energy, that kind of willingness to love myself enough to at least pursue it. And these are, you can go, and it's always good to go back early. We've had these calls where we talked about those foundation years. And sometimes you can unpack things that we've forgotten. When you look at from 0 to 10, and ask those same questions, what do we remember during those early years that may have shaped the way we think and the way we feel and the way we approach things? Maybe there's some things that we talk about it from the standpoint of, I actually, when I talk to my sister, I realize there are a lot of things that I have swept under the rug, experiences that I, for whatever reason, may have wanted to just forget about. And then having a conversation with her, she'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, remember when you did this?" And I'm like, "What? I did what?" And I realized, yeah, actually, I did do that, but I chose to block it out. Yeah, I chose to block it because I wanted to block it for a reason. Maybe it was a painful experience, or maybe it was something that I don't know. But so we have to. It's worth having those kind of conversations, because I would say to you, and this is just from a personal perspective, that being able to look in the mirror and say, thank God for using me to do some of the things that you outlined. If I have a meeting with a client and I know God was in that meeting, that there were things that came out of my mouth that I'm like, I don't know where that came from. It's like, and like they walked away and said, man, thank you for doing that. Thank you for helping me with that, because I had a mental block. I didn't know how to access the information. You walked into somebody's house, they called you because they knew you knew how to get it done, and you added value to their situation. Like, for me, it's the fact that I'm thankful that God was willing to use lowly me to add value to somebody else's situation. And when you just go back through your brain and collect all of the times you've done something for somebody, we on this call alone, I could half of the people on this call probably came to this call because you invited them. It's like yeah. Mm.
Always been a person whose motivation was accomplishing what it is that leader says that they want to do. Like, bro, what the people that you told me to. Like, so I always laugh when y'all say, or you say stuff like Apostle Paul, but bro, we sat down heard a J pause, right?
Mhm.
And I heard a command, which called the play.
Mhm.
The reason I highlight that is because, bro, I didn't go get people because I wanted people to come to the group. I went and got them because I really was committed to following you and Paz. You, Paz, Derek, and everybody else. You know what I mean? And I highlight that, and I hope people on the call listen, because while I may be short in some areas and I understand certain things, I definitely understand follow through execution, right? As an employee or as a team, the biggest thing is for people to follow through and play their role. But now we come to a place where, for the first time, I can say to you, like, okay, leader, we've done all of this, and now I finally see myself. You didn't know this. I never saw myself as this. So as a spoke on the wheel, trying to be a part and even to your value. Now I understand that my value is so much more than what I saw.
Yeah, there we go.
Relearning myself.
That's right.
And this is true testament of what happens to Black Americans given certain situations. Because I'm not going to say it because I didn't have my dad or full reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are so many of us that really understand value if we perform greatness on a regular basis, on a consistent basis.
This is
and that how do we stop? How do I discrediting myself? And I think it's just a matter of making a decision. Is that right? Where you just know it's I'm not doing it again.
You did it. You said it. You just make a decision to love the fact that you're adding value. You know, that's the fact. You can look back over your life and just continue to point to time after time after time after time that you've added value to somebody else's life. Now, unfortunately, society tries to make us believe that value is all about money and riches and resources and all that kind of stuff. And those things can come if you want it. But that is not, at the end of the day, when you look, there are a whole lot of people with massive resources. You know, I see and meet and speak with a lot who are empty inside, who are empty, who are, it's still not enough, you know. And so when we and I personally, and from a very personal perspective, and I'm being very honest about the Purpose Driven Life book, because it does help you to identify that, if you know, when you think about, I like that, you know, when I was growing up, you know, the old bishops called it the Holy Spirit, you know, but it's, I look at it, and you know, not Jim Rome, but Napoleon Hill calls it, you know, the was it, I can't remember the term that he called it, but basically it's that when you're able to communicate or do something that you know for a fact that you were in such a rhythm that is above, that you don't remember when you learned how to do that, or you said something and you were thinking to yourself, wow, that was good, let me write that down, like, and you were listening to yourself work in, and I know, Paz, you listening, vortex, there we go. When you get into the vortex, you get into a space where you're flowing, you've connected in a way that is allowing you to tap into other you. And it's going back to, especially in your case, I team, because you know, when you laid out all of the different things that you've accomplished, the things that you've done, I was having that conversation with Donnie Glover about you. You know, just the whole aspect of being great at what you're doing, whether you feel like that is greatness or not, doesn't change the fact that it is. You know, when you are in the middle of greatness, you may not see it as greatness, but that doesn't change the fact that it's greatness. You know, and so I think at the end of the day, it has to, this is a moment we were taught to not, and I like to use the word ambitious. I like to use the word confident, because growing up, they said, oh, yeah, you know, you think you conceited, or that person conceited. I think, you know, you think you all that. You know, you used to hear that kind of stuff when we were kids, and they try to say those words like it's a negative connotation. But it is so important to look in the mirror and know you all that, to know the fact that what you bring is going to not only, when it adds value to somebody else, it's adding value to you. And that is in.
So the latest thing that, the latest thing, I'm sorry to cut you off,
Go
we going in fast. I'm about to come for you, bro. We gonna go back. So, yeah, let's go, bro. Showtime. So, the interesting part is, that's exactly where it started, B. But it really started in my house, not just in the neighborhood, with my mother teaching me to be a certain way towards my brother and sister. Can you hear me? Yeah, at that time, it had nothing to do with showing off. It was like, I had to focus on making sure my brother developed his talent, my sister developed hers. It was at that time I could think of it like maybe my mother said, "Well, team, it's a given that you're going to make it. We need you to make sure that they're going to make it." But how do you process that at 10, 11, 12 years old? Like when your brother and sister is 5 and 4. For me, it just becomes priority.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I remember me playing go-go in front of the whole Chinquapin Middle School. Me and Melvin Tuck on the stage. People, auditorium. You know, I had never played go-go. I just heard it before and imitated it. Picked up percussion because they took the violin from me. To tell you, my first instrument was a violin, bro. I chose it. I had never heard of me a hit violinist. 41st to my grandmother's house, bro, and stood in the living room with gangsters and drug addicts. And I made up shit. I was freestyling with a goddamn bow and a violin. I was just making up stuff. Back then, Paz, I don't think none of us saw how great we were. Well, we were in advanced academic to the point where they had us on a whole nother wing of the school. We was in class with Chung Ha Un, Wing Wing, and Jung Suk Yang, and Danielle Martin, and Summer, and all these different people. We even ate lunch alone. At that time, think of the trick of how we grew up. At that time, do you know we were embarrassed because of our greatness? They didn't celebrate us, bro. They used to beat on the tables because we would eat lunch last. They used to beat on the tables and chant when we walked in, "Nerds, nerds, 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 nerds." So we would go to the back of the line and try to be the last of the people coming in. That same mindset was in my neighborhood, right? You better not embarrass little such and such on the basketball court. You might get beat up, right? So you let this guy dribble and shoot when you know you can take the ball and block his shot, right? So we think about how all of that stuff develops, and today I'm at a place where I'm ready to, have already turned it over. Yeah. Because this is the stuff like when you talk to Donnie, this is what being more optimistic and righteously endowed comes from. That's where I got to be more from. Because I refuse to be that over there. Why? What happens with that? All right, OG, have a good day, bro. All right, love it. So what happens is when we buy into that whole mantra, we also buy into the negative side of it at some point. You ready? Podcast shit. That's how we end up in the streets, B. Because you listening to what Duty called the peanut gallery. You feel me? How do you go from shooting jump shots to slinging crack rock? Because you listening to the nigga standing on the side of the wall watching you practice in Cecil Cook that's got a Benz out front and 20,000 in his pocket, and for some reason you start believing that's what I need to be. Not understanding that they all wanted to be what you are at one time. So as I open this thing up, I implore everybody on the call to be excited about where we are, because I see a time of newness and success beyond what we've imagined. That's what I feel in my spirit. Like you said, this ain't me talking. Now this is the spirit. He is probing us for a reason through you, bro. It's something coming, B. Can't you feel it? It's in the air, bro. Go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know if I've ever heard this anywhere, but it's resonating with me. And it's brother saying, the man who races himself as a worthy opponent, and the race will never end.
Always believe that. Just to show the world just what they can see. I want to show the world tough. I'm not coming. I'm not going to go. And I'm doing that to myself and my fight. So every day I'm ready to fight. And that's me on me.
And the world has already seen, what you're capable of. Just listening to your work ethic indicates to me that you're somebody of worthiness of the job. You're just listening to the things you're saying about yourself and how you commit to something that you do. You haven't accepted it.
That's right.
Because you think that you have something to yourself. Recently, all the things you talk about business that I'm working for traumatic stress disorder. It has me to go to jail. It's caused me to lose people in my life, die, physically pushed out of my life because of this disorder. But listening to what you're saying, children shouldn't have to raise children. Children shouldn't be responsible for the well-being of their siblings. If it's about fight in the schoolyard and you go look out for your little brother, that's one thing. Yeah. But to put your life on hold to ensure that someone else's life manifests into something, better, that's traumatizing.
Yeah.
And I encourage people, if you grew up in any kind of environment where there was a lack of a parent, where the mother had to compensate for what the father wasn't doing, or if there was a father who compensated for what the mother wasn't doing, that's traumatizing to a child. So I encourage people to speak to groups now. If you grew up in an inner city environment, for the most part, I encourage people to go see somebody about being tested for post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder comes in so many different ways, and it is the poster child for the adversary. The adversary is sneaky. He will sneak in any way he can. You could be traumatized from watching the news every day. I was sharing with my son-in-law, that growing up, I'm 55, and growing up in Clark Heights at that time was the height of the heroin epidemic. Brother, 19 years old, died from a heroin overdose. I saw him dead in the hospital. I was 5 years old, and I can describe that moment to the T. It's one of my first traumatic experiences. And I remember those things and everything that happened. I was just reading a study that said that by the time you're 7 or 8 years old, all of your beliefs about life have already been established in you. So whatever you see between the ages of 1 to 7 or 8 will most likely shape who you become in life. So if you come up in an environment where your father didn't provide, it's going to cause you to do one of two things: over provider or under provider. And those kind of motivations, it robs you of your childhood. it robs you of so many other things that you don't get to experience because you're so hardwired to not be like that man, or you're hardwired to be just like him. Either way,
so what's your name, brother?
Sean, bro.
Sean, my name is Ateen.
Yeah.
You from 15, I'm from 18. How old are you?
I'm 55.
55. So what part of Park Ice you from? Top or bottom?
Park Ice and Woodland. Born and raised right there.
Calvin, Will Smith that died in an accident?
Yeah, Will died. Yeah, he's my good friend, man. We went to school together.
Red Sammy, my friend, so I know your boys. Cookie Man, all my listen, bro.
Cookie Man, all of them, yeah. Calvin and Will, when they first got in.
What's your name?
They call me White Boy.
We gonna wrap this. Matter of fact, yeah, but let me go back to the point of what I want to make about this call. Thank you for the healing. Thank you, Pads, for the healing. Thank you, Dr. Dana Truesdale, for your husband, Najee, who I'm ready to make a point to you, brother, what Najee challenged me on. Byron, Najee came to the shop, bro. He came here, and he sat here for almost 2 hours and challenged me as a man, right? So what you're talking about, and I thank God for the healing, because one thing I am is a student, so when I can listen, understand better. You just explained something to me about me that I never saw. So let me give you the facts of what it is. My stepfather was murdered and taken from me, bro, in the 7th grade. But as a kid, coming from Richmond, Virginia, at 2 months old, being raised by this man, having seen this man be so such a great leader of a family, he led my biological father. The respect I have for Ronald Mitchell, I remember my father, Ronald Mitchell, my stepfather, who raised me, on my right-hand side, walking over the hills in Richmond, Southside Richmond, holding my right hand, my mother on his right, holding his right hand. My biological father, Charles Lee, on my left, holding my left hand. And they would talk. So the place I come from is so different from what some of these people that say upbringing, the place, the mindset of family, the mindset of togetherness, that when my stepfather passed away, what I had already taken on was the mantra of leading a family, because we were so close as friends in my mind. He was my friend, right? When he started getting high, after, that's the part of the game for some people. You getting the money, because we was over Bruce Manor. So back when Bruce Manor had no gates, right? So you know how close Myrtle Ave and all of that is over there. Then we go to AC West North Avenue. But this man, he was the king. Then one day he came to me and said, "Team, I'm using the drugs I used to sell, and I need you to take care of your mother and family." Bro, I didn't know no difference. I stepped right into the role. So when you talk about being neglected as a child, or having PTSD or the trauma, guess what, bro? I didn't even know what it was. I didn't care. It felt great to me. I argued with my mother for years to push her to do stuff. I made sure my brothers and my sisters all did everything that they were supposed to do. What I didn't realize is I was neglecting me. I never realized that. And as I hear you on the phone, what I hear you saying is, bro, it's time for you to live your life. Because most of the stuff that I've done, whether it's a job or business, you know what I did it for? To make money to take care of my family or other people. It's rare that I do stuff just for me. But what I hear you talking about is how I have to reprogram my thinking. This is what my psychiatrists and psychologists are talking to me about right now, right? This is what Derek Chase is mentoring me in right now. He's like, "Team, you are so," because he asked me, he said, "Yo, what art form did you train?" Okay, Taekwondo, boxing, and wrestling. He said, "Well, Taekwondo is a strike attack. That explains your mindset." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you always in a fight." He said, "But Tai Chi was his art form of study, so it's more fluent, it's more of a flow." What I'm hearing now is the reprogramming of my mind is going to be the deprogramming, the deconstruction of all the things that I was committed to as a kid, now emphasizing my talents and abilities to benefit myself, which I was taught was selfish, which is not, and move forward. Bro, I don't even know how to start that without people like you guys in this group. Because I don't really know what it is to just go and do me. Think about it, B, when y'all see me at events, don't I always seem kind of like I'm in some kind of weird, awkward mode? Because I'm uncomfortable as hell being there receiving. I'm used to doing, facilitating, taking out trash, moving stuff around. I don't know how to sit at a table and just eat and be celebrated, but I need to learn. I need to understand how to accept my roses while I'm here, because that's the other side of the PTSD. I get mad when I get in a space and I feel like niggas ain't acknowledging the shit that I've done for them. Mm-hmm. How can you be mad that they're not acknowledging and you don't put yourself in position to even receive the credit that this group would give you if you showed up at some of the events? This is opening me up, bro. Like, yeah. I crave being around y'all so much, right? But I'm gonna tell you something honest. In the moment of getting dressed, I power. I think about what is Paz gonna say when he sees me. Because what Paz don't know is sometimes he be crushing me with his jokes. And I know they jokes, but deep down inside, it reminds me of the Paz from middle school that used to joke and make everybody feel stupid. Now, Paz probably has no idea that I thought like this about it. But that's my trauma. That doesn't mean it's true, right? That doesn't mean that that's what was going on. So the deconstruction and the reprogramming is what I look forward to. And to be able to talk with guys like you, Byron, everybody on this call, I don't care how it sounds. I need to get it out and away from me so that I can heal and grow into my success. Because, bro, I'm getting ready to do something huge with this golf thing. It's happening, B. Man, I taught my lesson, bro.
It's so
video.
Listen, brother. You laid out so much, and I'm surprised you and Sean don't know each other. Also, that because definitely so many times we've had the same circles. But you laid, yeah, exactly. But you laid out so much, and I think the big more of the story as we look forward is really the objective of this network is to recognize that a like-minded group of folks are here to address the here and going forward. Because you highlighted some stuff that even my daughter talks about, and she's in middle school, so she's going through what you were talking about when you were that age, and I went through it too, which is, we're gonna pick fun at the person who's different. And what does different mean? One who maybe, can answer the questions fast, and they say, "Oh, he's smart." Or if you're, if the way you pronunciate a word is a little too clean, it's, "Oh, he's trying to talk white." If you get an A on a grade, you don't even want people to know because they thinking, all that whole piece of being different. But at the end of the day, that has more to do with them and not you. And so at the end of the day, it helps to identify, well, I need to create my own circle, because instead of trying to lessen yourself to become a part of the group of the self-conscious folks who feel a certain way because you're being great, it's important to collect yourself with folks who also are pursuing greatness and get to a point where I just don't care what you think. You know what I'm saying? And so, but to that point, I just don't care.
Yeah. Keep on worrying about what they think or how they feel.
This is the number one reason why. I'll tell you this is the truth. This what you're talking about right now, and I would say for me personally, is the number one reason why we created this network. Because you don't want to have people on an island. Say it again. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But how long do they last? Yeah.
Just you. Because the moment that Dreammakers Network slows down because Byron's focused on what somebody else is saying, the whole group suffers.
Yeah.
I never saw myself that valuable. Well, I never saw myself as valuable as you are. You make me feel that way when I'm with you. But when I see you, like, Young Donnie or different places, I look at you and I marvel. I always say, that's my brother and we're alike. Like we're doing it now.
We all together.
That's
right. Well,
we think we know what people are thinking about us. You don't know what people are thinking, and it ain't always bad.
I'm gonna tell you like this, man. This is just the God honest truth, and this is me. When I wake up in the morning, and my pastor used to say this all the time. You know, how are you going to use me to blow my mind today? There's only one. I'm only looking for validation in one direction, and that's from the Creator. That's the only validation I'm looking for. So I say, okay, well then use me then. Use me today. And I don't even want to try to come up with how you're going to use me. Just do it. And to have that kind of relationship is what blocks out everything else, because it's just, I was created for a reason. So let that happen on a daily basis. Yeah. Yeah. All my guys. All my guys. Yeah. Yeah, you just named off some beautiful brothers, right? These brothers. Yeah. Yeah.
Why am I so concerned with what man is thinking? Can't even be moved to the point where I shouldn't even respond. This is where the being raised by women, being shit comes in, right? Bro, just because something is being said or being done don't mean you need to respond. I hate it. It's like, I changed like a fucking bitch. Any goddamn thing happen, you gotta respond. But I'm realizing that's because my mother did the best she could by herself. So it came from a good place. Yeah. I have to stop thinking of everything as so negative. Even with Sundiata, he said, yo, I don't want you to do clothes, shoes, none of that. Just focus on head. As I calmed down, you know what I thought about? That's going to bring me the most money, but I'm bad. My man don't want me to shout. No, he thinking about, I team, I've been right there where you at. He got a display cabinet right now full of shirts that ain't moving. Just like I got a whole basement. You know how much stuff I got, B?
Yeah.
Money I spend on stuff other than cars and jewelry. Most dudes go buy Lexus. I order cases of shirts and try to sell them. But what does all that really mean?
Yeah, I'll tell you this though. But here's the process. You got to begin a process, and I challenge you to begin a process, because what you're talking about is moving from where you are to where you want to be, and I'm talking about this from a mental perspective. And I always pursue a 21-day process, and and so number one, I definitely recommend you get Purpose-Driven Life and just take a chapter a day. So I'll say that. Number one, get the Purpose-Driven Life. So that's a 30-day process right there. But the fact that here's the deal, if you can read, and don't try to overread, because just read a chapter a day, because what happened, I read it in 2 days. Like, no, don't. That's right. Just take a chapter a day and ask yourself, what did I just read mean for me? I just read some information. What did it mean for me? And then in that 21-day process, when you wake up in the morning and you go into the bathroom, you look in the mirror, you say, God, how are you going to use me today? I'm wet, I'm ready, I'm willing. Use me. I don't care what way. I'm not going to try to get in front of it. How are you going to use me today? Say that every day for 21 days. Get into that rhythm, because ultimately what you're doing now is going to war with your subconscious mind. You are forcing your subconscious mind to begin the process of breaking down old, quote unquote, pathways, old habits, old memories, old things that are affecting you in ways that you don't even remember. It's been like that. This shaped your behaviors from decades ago. But now you are giving it a new command. You're giving your subconscious a new thing to accept. And ultimately, your mind says, I guess we're doing this now. I guess this is it because it's happening every day. Put yourself on a 21-day process just to go through that process and see what happens. And you can come back on the 21st, 22nd day and say, man, that was crap. It didn't do nothing, right? Or you can say, you know what? I feel a little different. And I know you're a cat who would do it. So, man, why not? Right? You got to read these books again. You got to do it again. Yeah. So, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right. We love it, bro. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, what's your book? Mm.
little bit of faith in you to help you get, what his brother saying, and it's a 52-day devotional.
Mm.
And you really get a chance and just be at yourself and see what you do. And certainly it gives you this that I hope gives you some pretty concrete ideas as to how to overcome it. And I forget the exact number. Byron, you'll probably know this. I'm sure you. But if you do something a certain amount of time, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And what I discovered in my journey with dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder and the debilitating side of it is that when I read a scripture for a certain number of days, I didn't have a set number, but for a certain number of days, that portion of scripture became a part of me. And so when times got tough, and they do get tough, no matter who you are, no matter who you are, those things would instead of the bad stuff that was placed in me from all those years of trauma, like God said, you reinvent yourself. So now, as opposed to having negative thought, I think on these things. The Bible says, let your mind be on these things that are good, good report, good nature, good will things. And I believe it'll help you. I believe God had me get on this call this morning. I don't normally be up this early, but we got a dog recently. He wakes me up at 6 o'clock every morning crying because he wants to go out. And I woke up and I saw my phone and I saw that the mastermind was coming over. I'm getting on because normally, I shared this for Byron several years ago that in this process of dealing with PTSD, I had severe sleep disturbance. So I would go, 6 or 7 days without sleeping. And then at the end of the week, crash and just sleep for 2 days, this disorder, and I deal with that, and now I'm finally, thank God, getting some sleep, but now I got this dog, he's come back to being work again. I believe, there are no happenstances. This didn't just happen. I didn't just happen to, to get on this call. God intended for me to be here to share with you in particular, because everything I hear you saying, I've walked down that street, and I understand it, and I understand where it comes from. That's more than half the battle. When you can figure out where something comes from, then you know how to better address it. But when you don't know where it's coming from, you point it in the dark, you know. And so, I encourage you. The book is called Finding My Mustard Seed.
52.
Yeah, it's an Amazon store now. You might be able to want to get reviewing for something like that. You do it, but it could be available by the end of the day, I guess. Yeah, it's a really good book. It really helped me, you know, because I lost, you know, Byron has known me for some years now. You know, the man in this walk, I told you lost faith in God because it didn't seem like he was answering. You know, it didn't seem like he was concerned about that I was, you know, suicide or that was, you know, that I was ready to call it quits. Yeah, you know, and what he did was put a little mustard seed of faith in me that sustained me. And you know, I encourage you, brother, to you know,
I'm all about seizing the moment. Apologize, but unapologetically on this call, we trying to do what we need to do. Give me your number, bro. I'm gonna write it down right now. So
sure.
I want to share with you about what you just said.
Are you ready? 410 926 9870.
And give me your name, please.
It's on FEAN.
CAN, last name.
Field. FIELDS.
Gotcha. Promise you, bro. I'm send you a text number. Good listening.
Okay,
Thank you for allowing me to share. I'm sorry for the call. Felt like we took up too much time, but I encourage y'all to use this call to heal and grow. Aspiring past, these guys are some great leaders, and we are in a space that we have planned to be in, y'all, and this is our year. Let's take this by the horns.
That's right.
No, I think it's definitely a blessing, man, for you guys to share. And you know, when we have these calls, the objective again is to create a mastermind of personal development. And I want to be clear about what that really means. You know, when we talk about personal development, it's taking you from where you are to where you want to go. And we can always kind of go down the road of like, I'm here and I don't know how I got here, but this is where you are. And a lot of times we have to really unpack how we got here before we can even begin to take a step forward and even have that small mustard seed that Sean mentioned to move forward. And I think it's so important when we go through those processes of taking a look back to you just comb through those 10-year increments of your life. What happened then and why? What happened from 10 to 20 and why? What happened to 20 and 30 and why? And just begin to go through that process. It's worth it because the older we get, we can kind of forget about, those original objectives, those original things that mattered. Those things were so impressionable, good, bad, and different. There were things that were so important to you when you were 12 that you probably don't even remember now, but unless you go through a full look back, and raising a 12-year-old, I'm constantly going back to my 12-year-old self. And at this point, but just to even be able to have a conversation and try to relate, and not just look at things from a parental perspective, but from a where she is perspective, and I think it's important for us to do that. It's cathartic, because as I mentioned earlier, even for me personally, there are during those years is when I swept a lot of stuff. I said, oh, I don't want to remember that. I don't want to remember that either. How about that either? Because, that was that changing aspect of your life. And going back to Sean's point, if you dealt with traumatic situations and you did everything you could to try to overcome it, probably just swept it under the rug, hoping that nobody would ever find it. It'll never visit itself again and show up and just pop out in a moment. Well, the one thing that we've learned through this process of personal development is understanding the subconscious. And when we understand the subconscious, is that those experiences from early on help to shape our viewpoint on life today. It helped to shape our behaviors, what we will and won't do, what's acceptable is not acceptable. Because it actually is kind of like It's that part of you that's trying to protect yourself from the things that have already, you saw as fearful, or you was painful, and things that made you excited, and all those pieces. And so we think about, if we're trying to progress, at some point we have to visit that. If we're trying to progress, we're looking at, how do I convince my subconscious that it's time to grow up? How do I convince that part of me that's trying to protect me that we're going in a new direction, that we're headed there? And the only way you can do it is through repetition. And the only way you can even get to a point to do something repetitively is you have to believe in yourself. And how do you believe in yourself? And as I shared just some of the steps that I take, I have that daily conversation with God to say, I'm your vessel. Use me today to accomplish all these things that you put in my mind. When I get these inspirations, like, oh, God's talking to me again. Let me get my pen and paper out and just write it down. Because I don't. It's like I said, in many cases, these are things that I have not come across. I have not. No one shared it with me. I can't go back in my memory and say, oh, I remember that. Let me try to do that. These are fresh, new seeds that are being invested. And so, okay, great. If you want me to do this, to help me become someone who can do this, because I don't have the faculties, I don't have the understanding, I don't have the know-how, I don't have all the things to do what you just put in my spirit. I don't know the people who can get me access, but some people get paralyzed in that moment. They say, because I don't have those things to do it, I shouldn't be pursuing this. And that's not what this life is about. This life is about being used by God, being inspired by God, and being willing and ready to just go for it. And know that if I'm in relationship, I'm not in this by myself. And so that's where that mustard seed piece comes in, that faith aspect comes in. Because if you don't have faith, I was having a conversation with one of my close friends I grew up with, and it was more of a religious conversation, about all the different religions and belief systems and things like that. He said, well, why is Christianity it for you? I was like, well, I can't say that I know all about all the other religions and things that have helped other people and that they do and all that. But one thing I can say for me personally is that understanding what I've learned and what I've read and my own personal experiences with Christ is the best way for me to pursue faith. And what does faith mean? To be able to move forward and not stay in a complete shell of myself for the rest of my life. That I can pursue what it is that I believe I'm here to do. And without I shouldn't say nervousness, but without fear. So that word between faith and fear, which one wins? Will faith win, or will fear win? When it's something that you're here to do, when it's something you're confident in, it's in your spirit, who's going to win? And the one that you feed will win. If you feed your faith, yeah.
Fear has infused your faith. Like when I'm put in a place of fear, because I'm a fighter, not a flighter, my faith gets stronger. Just like I don't know if this is a disorder or just me processing something wrong, but in the face of danger is when I'm at my strongest. That's when I believe the most. I welcome the challenge. I'm looking for it. It's like I want a moment to prove myself. What is that?
Well, I can tell you this, you should know this about yourself by now. Hopefully you do, but if you don't, after what I'm about to say, you should know this. Look, you have proven in this life that you are a faithful person, that you are willing, you're not afraid to pursue the inspirations, the seeds that God has given you. You've proven that in this life. You have proven that. That if you've been inspired to pursue something, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's evident. It's the most one of the most evident things that I know. That I don't know any other way to explain my understanding of you. That and that's a
To hear something like that from you is so different because I would normally lean to my peanut gallery, which you can't prove shit to them. But to hear that from you is like, oh, okay.
I think the more important piece is that you believe it. You know, when you
and that was the next thing I just thought. Don't matter what other people say.
yeah, whether I told you that, yeah, just look at your life. Just look at what you've already done, and that is that in of itself is something to just thank God for, because you have been willing to let God reveal himself through you throughout your life. One, so that's the piece. And that's right. And whatever way you can communicate, do it. And number one, to make sure that that you're communicating with the right group and you're listening to the right group. Because again, when we talk about our peers, people who are around us, and it could be family members, it could be people we grew up with, whatever the case may be. What they have going on in their life is what they have going on in their life. They are in their own search. People go through stuff, man. Everybody, it's just, but you have to be able, and I say you, I'm talking to all of us, anybody who's listening, to be in relationship in a way where you know that who to listen to, who not to listen to. That just goes back through the basics. Who do you listen to? Who do you listen to? You listen to the people who have what you want. And that is, at this stage of our lives, we have to be very intentional about that, because we don't have time for distractions. Just things that get us off of message. We don't have time for distraction. And here's a piece, and I want to just kind of, and this is more so to anyone who in your situation, I team over the years, so you've proven that you can do something. You can just pick one thing that you've done in your life, and that you enjoy doing, and you still enjoy doing it. And if you say to yourself, you know what, yeah, I am faithful, and I am committed, and I am willing, and I'm like people say, I'm about it, or like the kids say now, I stand on business. Like, if you are one of those kind of people, then at this point you say, you know what, I think I want to create some resources. I think I want to create wealth. I think I want to do that, because that's an intentional thing too. You have to pursue that. Once you decide that you want to pursue wealth, if for a lot of people, money is kind of the thing that they kind of decide if I've made it or not. And if you pursue it, it's coming. A lot of times people just don't pursue it in the way to actually create it. But you could pick any one of those things that you decide to focus on, build a business model around it, and just put your foot on the gas and go. And don't let distractions get in the way, and it will come. And that's just there's no
distractions for me. Too many. Shade down.
Whatever, man. No, whatever. Whatever, man. It's like distractions is the devil, yo. That's how I look at it. Distractions is the enemy. And when you focused on something, distractions is the enemy, because it's going to take you away from the greatness that you're pursuing. And we, at this stage of our lives, we have to be just committed to the greatness. And when I say greatness, I look at that as another opportunity to show a glorious situation, to show that God is real. And look, it's happening through my life. It's happening through her life. It's happening through his life. It's that, just look how they're performing. I never forget the first time I saw Kendrick Lamar in concert or perform. I never forget this. I had never even heard of him. And I was like, who is this kid? It was clear at that moment. I said, this guy is completely allowing God to use him in that moment. And it didn't matter what was, I shouldn't say it didn't matter what was coming out of his mouth, but it was more so the fact that he was delivering. He was like, I've completely relinquished my body and my spirit and my mouth and my eyes and everything, and just letting God work. Letting my creator do what I'm supposed to do in this life. It was a moment. It was probably when he first came out, people was putting him out there. I was, yikes. I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be able to do what it is that the creator put me here to do. And they say, you know what? That dude, it's clear he's meant to do that. That's the objective of this life. And anything else outside of that, I mean, and this is just me talking. It ain't worth putting time into. It's not worth spending additional time, because I look at it like this. If you're doing what your creator created you to do, all the things that you care about, all the people that you care about, all the things that you want, all those things, it's going to happen. It's coming. There's no need to think about the ancillary things. Just focus on the fact that I'm here to be a vessel. And in whatever way that is, that's the objective. So it's fear, worry, and doubt is the enemy. Fear, worry, and doubt is the enemy. And the antidote to fear, worry, and doubt is faith. And you go through the process of building faith by doing it every day, doing the thing that you believe you're here to do every day, and reaffirming to yourself and get excited, be proud of the fact that you are committed, that you're faithful, that you're willing to do it. And that process will help you fall in love with yourself and fall in love with the person that God created. But again, folks say, oh, you ain't supposed to say that. You're not supposed to say,
Yeah, well, we tired of what you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're at 8:36, man. I want to take a second to open up the call. Man, good to hear that, brother, man. Keep doing that good work. Let's open up the call. Anybody have any questions, comments, want to share about the call so far? I know we laid out a lot. We've got about 20 minutes left on the call, but we'll take a second and open up the call now. That's right.
Because it's not about anything. It's totally he wants for me and me believing that and working towards, like you said, everything with that.
Believe in you, God.
moment. And it's like, again, just getting to that state, feeling like to do those things. And it's not about me, and it's about being a vessel. And so the thing I want for you is I want peace for you. Because I tell you, I'm so scared around being, multi-potential, that I need to have all these bad different understand the frustration that you have. And so a lot of times, like, you decide your metric for success. Nobody else to decide. People to know the time for everything. And so being cognizant of there is no work to say, hey, let's take this. So it's not about anybody else. It's about you. And so make sure people to grow so that one grows, but at the same time recognizing thing is evolving. And so I just believe that I just want peace for folks. And joy is truly an inside job. Elevation church, and he talks about 6 minutes. So the way he's saying it is, it's refocused the people that you already read, but and he's being honest about his examples and his shortcomings. And what he's saying is recognize that we're the only person who's struggling with feeling like they're meaningful or they're doing what they want to do or your anger issue, they're struggling with something. That's right. Your whole complete until you die.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? And so they look at, what's the day based on this number, what does this number mean, the significance of the day? Look at this. And so the practice of reflectiveness, I think it's something that we have to be intentional in. I think you look at these things, but getting to make you think about what you're doing, so you're not just reacting to everything around you. Going where you want to go. You choose where you want to go. And your feet, the direction of your feet and the movement determines if you go there or how fast you go. And so, we can't get caught from the cycle of just being one. You're not going to get where you want to go because you're doing it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to eat. People will. In the 20 more paper. So I'm reading the show, and that's not for me to do. But you don't think I have nothing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an effort to where you're going. And you can be a whole lot of things, but nowhere living. And make sure that this or align with your greater purpose. Not because you can do it. You can do it. So what? That's what what you're supposed to be doing. Sometimes what you're doing is a distraction to what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And peace with yourself will allow you to determine what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to say. Okay, just take care of that. You can decide what your assessment and what that looks like for you and what success is. Not anybody else's success, it's really yours. So I'm gonna go peace and striving to keep for that. And not let other form of situations to show up.
I love it. Pastor, I got a question for you, and this is, and I've been meaning to ask you this actually, but when you highlighted, when you mentioned peace, that helped me to kind of remember what I wanted to ask you. So so think back to like when you started yoga, just doing it, as a practice, and the moment that you decided that you wanted to pursue becoming a yoga instructor. Can you kind of explain that thought process as to, you say, you know what, I want to do this and why? Can you explain that?
Being able to explore in this space, there's a black woman, so many people make decisions about our bodies. Being able to make decisions to like what's the peak to do with we need to create spaces for specifically in our body. You know, so because we're already renting in our body and so experiencing them physically and what it did for me kind of once in a day feel this.
Mm.
Reason to the night, we're not enjoying it. We're not looking to get up now. We're working, experiencing the life, and we can do it really truly. So feel is what the thing the creature.
Mm. Mm. I love it.
Hey,
Yes, sir.
they did a study on a group of people. I forget who it was, I read it at, but this group of people, they was dealing with fears. And they found out that people were less afraid of death, less afraid of something catastrophic happening to them in their lives, but more afraid of being quiet themselves
Mm.
than anything else. And I say that because it's like you know, they get in the car and then you satellite radio and all that stuff. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna get rid of this because I don't listen to the radio. I'm gonna stop just like to be just listen to my thoughts and things and like this in the car. Turn the radio on, see you should get in. And I'm afraid of being yourself, you know, and
This conversation right now.
yeah, but you know, but it's true, people, people don't just panic when, if they gotta be quiet and just be with themselves,
Yeah.
and I find that you find some of your greatest conversations happen with yourself, because if you're an intelligent, rational person, you're gonna give yourself intelligent, rational answers.
Wow. Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about this. I've been thinking a lot about this and Tyson, I probably should talk to you offline. I've been thinking a lot about. I've had a couple of situations happen recently where to help provide content that would be in terms of like a podcast or a show and things like that, that would be of value, particularly to to Black Americans, but to people as a whole. And that was part of the reason why I asked Tysana that question, because I've watched that evolution, and it's almost like I'm glad when she started talking about it, she led with the word peace, because it was almost like that when in listening to her, I was writing down freedom equals peace. And so when we talk about freedom of your mind, freedom of your body, freedom of your speech, freedom of how you worship, freedom to be in a space that you just don't feel that you're able to break down the conventions, if you will. If you're able to begin like what society has formed as the box that you must stay in, that you are getting to a point in life where you don't fit, well, that is not the priority anymore. To be able to, and then to communicate why, so and once you're out of those conventions, then now you're in a place where you can look at yourself, you can move, you can wear what you want to wear, you can get to a place where it doesn't matter who says what and why. Especially and a lot of times it comes from the people who we care about the most, our parents, our siblings, our good friends, co-workers. We don't care about them, but what they say is, impressionable, if you will, because you work there, whatever the case may be. and even clients in the case of with me, because I spend a lot of my times with clients than I do coworkers. But when you're at a confident space in your life where you have peace of mind around all of those things that usually require to stay in some kind of a conventional box. And I was listening to Tysana kind of outline how she got to where she is in terms of just the yoga aspect of her life, that it felt as if there's a certain freedom of breaking away from those conventions that has led to this peace space. That was my takeaway, Ty. I don't know if that is accurate. No. Yeah.
And and they told me that good choice, good choice. Now we can move forward, which is being premier, let's not be the message for everything else in this world.
Yeah.
You to make me up. It's full of justice. And again, choosing you is it's you. You know, you can again dominate.
Yeah.
No matter the relationship, they're not being helpful. Your parents, they haven't gotten here, but they're not there. They were a vessel
Yeah.
to do something greater. And they can only train and teach you from what they know. And there's a limit to that.
That's limited, yeah.
And so understanding, for me, once I really got to that point, it was like, young people were the things that I thought my dad was supposed to be doing. Like, one of my biggest joys is getting in front of people that doesn't. This is the mess, and here is the mess. And you're a professional. You're a senior professional on this, and he does the opposite with me. Healing has to take place. But I'm grateful that, again, I listened to God and said, go home.
Yeah.
And I was able to get the help I needed and answers and apologies and all that. And still living. So when he closed his eyes, I was glad. And he knew, you can't be, we have a ridiculous. Like, I'm not living in fear. You're not going fear, Mom. You have lived your life in fear. You've gone to church, but you don't have no faith. Your activity is not about relationship. Like, I'm not going to. Doesn't mean that it is, and having understanding for yourself is necessary. And when we feel this like discrepancy or this, when things don't match, it hurts you. There's a reason. You can sit still and get quiet about it. How did you get this idea? Why is this thing bothering me? Or, why is this impacting me or making me feel the way that makes me feel? Get deep, get quiet. Look at your system. Look at the systems around you. Does it match or is it dissonant? And start working towards some clarity around it. But too often, we don't take the time to stop and get still and get quiet. We just keep rolling, and we under and able to work in the we can't listen Like, you can't be free. You can't experience liberation of peace and confusion, be it physical, emotional, or spiritual confusion. You can't experience peace and confusion.
Yeah.
And so you take the coffee and you simplify down to that basic, absolutely basic. It just makes things clear. Because again, yoga, and then for me, yoga is see it. Yoga is more than yoga life. So you apply those concepts to your everything, your schedule. I can't wait to go change my signature on my email. It will give me, I have for 40 hours to check my emails on these 2 days between these hours. If it's an emergency, send me a text. That's who I am. You can be able to answer emails all damn day.
That's right.
Confusion and dysfunction. I'm not responding to all that nonsense today until my whole day is gone because we have an email battle. No, dog.
Yeah. Ty, you said a couple of things I wrote down. I got to tell you, a couple of things that you wrote down that I'm sticking with me for real. I'm putting it in my journal after we finish this. One was, I rock with y'all, but I choose me. And that's a fact. I rock with y'all, but I choose me. Nothing against y'all, but I choose me. That's number one. And the one that is the probably the most powerful, and we all know folks like this. You go to church every Sunday, but have no faith. How about that? How about that? So, listen, this is real, man. You guys, it is officially 9:00. And for those of you on the call for the first time, this is a 2-hour call. So we have hit our 2 hours, but I want to say that it's been packed with value. Packed with value, packed with information that each of us can walk out and be able to not only make sure it reinvests into your own life, but I will say that definitely put us in a position to add value to somebody else's life. And I want to just quickly touch on that for a second. You know, I think that I don't want to assume that everybody cares about adding value to somebody else's life. I don't want to assume that. I know that that is something that is important to me. I feel like that's part of my unique purpose for living is to focus and if I'm in a city, I've ended client relationships. I've all of that if I felt like I wasn't adding any value, if it wasn't even interested. And I'll even on the front end say, listen, you know, here's my objective. And when folks, and it goes into a direction that's just, you can tell when something ain't right. It's like, you know, we need to stop this. But when we think about what we're here to do in this life, and even if your objectives don't seem to have someone else in mind, like if it seems like what you're working on is very inward and it's and nothing against it, it's just that if what you're looking at right now and focused on right now doesn't seem to have anybody else involved, you know, I would challenge it. I would challenge you to identify how can this potentially add value to somebody else's life, and then ask yourself, why am I even doing this? You know, and I think our team, I really highlighted early on in the call where his talents were being used to do things for other people, and he didn't recognize that they saw it as value, even though he may not have saw it as value. You know, and it's worth us just kind of taking a step back to take an inventory of our current life, how we move, the things that we do. Is it all inward, or is it are other people experiencing, and I would say even, benefiting from the work that you're doing? And was that intentional? Was it not intentional? And just beginning that inventory process to see what it is that, how you're moving and how you feel about what your moves. Does it make you feel empowered to do more? Do you feel like I need to find another space? Just take an inventory. But more importantly, and going back to kind of the core of what I would say the call is about today, is when you're moving and you're doing your things and you're pursuing objectives and pursuing goals on a daily basis, do you feel as if you have made yourself a vessel, made yourself available to be used by the Creator? And I was just looking at here on one of the chapters in The Purpose Driven Life, which is you plan for God's pleasure, that you are planned for God's pleasure. And it says in Revelations 4:11, you created everything and it is for your pleasure. That they exist and were created. So you created everything and it is for your pleasure that they exist and were created. And then there's another here where it says Psalms 149:4. The Lord takes pleasure in his people. And those scriptures kind of get me excited, to be honest with you. Because when we think about, we were created and, we made it here. And however many years we're alive. And like I say, this is the Pisces month. This is my month. And I'll be 45 in a few weeks. And 45 years of being on this earth. And then the question is, for what? And when I think about it, you can only ask that question to the Creator. Why was I created? You did it for a reason. So why? What is the whole objective of me being here? And the more that I think about that, because the Creator wants to reveal himself to the world through me, the more I get excited. Because I think about the things that I do on a daily basis, and I kind of look at it from a wonder perspective. But wow, like, okay, well, cool. So then what else is in store? Like, what ways do you want to do this? Like, and who would, just like now I'm like almost like in amazement for what's next, because it's beyond my capacity of thinking. It's beyond my ability to understand. But I'm just glad that I was chosen. I was created to possibly be a part of that. So I look at it from a creator to me perspective versus people and what people are thinking. And I don't care what people we're talking about: mama, daddy, wife, daughter, cousin, sister. Hey, like Tatiana said, I rock with y'all. I rock with all of them. I rock with, you guys know I love hard on all those folks. But at the end of the day, it's not about them. It's about what the Creator wants to do with me. And that's the thing I would like for all of us to kind of walk away with a bit of amazement, knowing that the Creator has some unique things that can be done and revealed through you. And that in of itself, I think, is just exciting enough to do it another day, regardless of what's going on in your brain and these type of things. That should be exciting enough for you to say, you know what, this is about to be all good. This is about to be a good look. So with that, that's all I got. Anybody having questions, comments, want to jump in? We'll open up the call now. Now, no, wait, here come Past Morris.
did fantastic. Very mission. Put us together. We were sitting in the house and I didn't even take any notes. I was just walking around listening, which is very uncharacteristic for me if I ain't sitting. But what I did get from everything was actually said a lot. But the idea of self-actualization and really being aware of yourself, and then being willing to make a decision to reinvent and change when necessary. I think that's what I'm going. That's what I'm going with. Self-aware. Everybody who was on the call was very aware of their challenges, where they were going, you know, and what the reasons were. I heard a lot of the good reasons, and that self-awareness is important. And then I also heard the power of some people were more involved and said, look, this is what I did and this is what I am. And other people were like, this is what I need to do based on where I am, and I'm working on that. And that's really all it is to me. And that's what I'm going to take away with it for this next month. Based on a lot of different things. I mean, Deep, obviously, you always, you know, have that strong biblical sense of how to bring it in. I did hear, and I'm trying not to. I came trigger me when you talk about all the jokes. So I'm not going to say any jokes except one. This is momentous on this call. Hassan brought up the 5% nation and the brothers that be doing today's mathematics. I said, okay, now we going in the direction. And how they break it down. And that was always very interesting to me. But I said that to say that even if the past is maybe foreign, you know, to the whole biblical thing, still find that relationship with God and using that awareness and peace to create that relationship helps us work with that decision. It does. And that's what you were getting at, D.
Yeah.
It's like it's not a great term. It's not like, you know, you gave me a hand, but it's like it powers and charges and helps it. And if you can get self-aware and then apply your direct connection to the Creator, that decision those decisions are a lot easier. And if you do make the decision, like you said, and get the goal, it's because really you achieve the goal because you got in alignment for that moment to get to that place, you know, and God works through you. So, I mean, it was a plan. So I feel good about the call.
I send it to all of y'all, Cindy, UB and Dwelly. I feel good.
Yeah. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, are we here? Okay. All right. That was great. It was good to hear my man Paz. I was like, oh, I don't know if his brother was on the call. So it was good to hear him, you know, kind of sum it all up for us. Laughing and crying. But that's a good call. If you spent the whole call laughing and crying, I think that's a good one. That one worked. That one worked. All right, folks. Well, let's be on purpose this month, man. Let's just let's be on purpose. Let's do this thing in a way that truly is relative to the relationship. You know, knowing if we're gonna focus on stuff, make sure we focus on the right. You know, let's not be distracted. We got to go to war against distractions and be so intentional about what's really available. Because I can tell you this one thing. I had a conversation yesterday, and I'm definitely done after this. That it doesn't matter the size of what we're doing, like how big it is, how small it is, or whatever. You know, I had a conversation yesterday, and this is another one of those moments where if you're a vessel anything can come out of your mouth. because it's not you, it's not you. It's the creator being able to be used. You know, I was even this week and been kind of preparing in this Lent season and preparing for Easter and the resurrection and all that. And it's just that whole period of time was just about allowing a man to be used, allowing God to be used, to use a man and say, here am I. This is what I'm my example of what it should be, what this relationship should be like. And I literally had this whole conversation and mapped out, you know, an acquisition strategy that could essentially hundreds of millions of dollars. And after I hung up the phone, I was sitting there like, where did that come from? You know, it was like, yikes. And I mean, literally, I'm like, where did that come from? And after I said that, like, why am I saying that? If I'm asking God every day to let me be a vessel, I know where it's coming from. You know, and if we're intentional, we stay focused, that's the objective. You know, so I say let's stay focused, limit distractions, move on purpose. And my wife is calling me, so I got to hang up. All right, guys. Have a great week. Yes, sir. Love you, brothers. All right.